It is wild card weekend in the NFL, and it is do or die for my Green Bay Packers today, as is the Washington used to be Redskins Commanders for Michael DeRosa's team. It is do or die for our boys today, but we've got a lot of college basketball to talk about today. In episode 208, I'm, of course, your host, Josh Burton. Joining me again today are my teammates, Michael DeRosa, Coach Scott Parrott. Gentlemen, I know the NFL is taking center stage, especially on today with Wild Card weekend beginning.
Not so much.
We got a lot of great college basketball to talk about that happened over the weekend. First of all, how are we doing on this fine Sunday? Besides me being nervous about the game today, we got to go to the Eagles and ground them in Philly today. But how are we doing today?
Hold on now. There's a college football game still being played, right. Which I need to talk about here for my first 30 seconds of my Irish taking down the Nittany Lions the other night in a classic. Just an incredible game. And same with the Ohio State-Texas game. Incredible games. Both games coming down to the last minute in the Final Four. I mean, what else could college football want? Same way that March Madness has been for basketball for how many years. And so, obviously, I'm excited about that. And also a fun day today of NFL games. But, man, yesterday, we do have a lot to talk about. So I'll let Michael lead us into that.
Yeah, I'm going to start it off by saying yesterday we were doing Thursday we were doing the game previews, right? And then I said my Iowa versus Indiana take where I thought Iowa was going to blow the doors off of them. And Coach was there like, man, Mike, that should have been your bank on it. And I was like, no, I got a better pick, Northwestern.
And they're getting killed.
They're playing right now, so like little current, and this could age really poorly. I've been against Michigan State all year. I think I got a tap on that take. I think they're good enough to win the Big Ten right now. They look excellent.
I mean, they're putting it on them. They're up 20 at the half.
Yeah, they're currently putting it on Northwestern in Evanston right now, and it's ugly. Yeah, I'm with you. I think the Sparty, I think we overlook them because they're not like flashy. They don't. It's not like they have an incredible offense. It's not like this defense is out of this world like Tennessee style. They're just kind of somewhere in the middle, but they're really good in the middle.
And they can't really shoot it, but they do everything else so well. And the way they push the pace, this team, it just kind of fits the vision that Izzo has.
This is an Izzo team to the T. They're just going to work hard. They're going to grind it out, and they're probably going to beat the hell out of you if you're not ready for it.
Josh, what was the motto of today's show? Because I just thought of one.
Today's episode is titled Wild Card Weekend Wackiness.
Yeah, included. How about Coach's wackiness? Let's.
Yeah,
I mean, we'll get to it. I mean, Mick Cronin's rant, Calipari's rant, and did you hear what Rick Barnes said about?
Yeah, about Chaz Lanier. So,
a lot of good quotes. A lot of good quotes from legendary coaches.
Yeah, I just, I think the season's starting to take a toll on a lot of people, and especially conference play. And those two conferences in particular, the SEC, we know the grind, number one conference. And then we've talked about the Big Ten's probably number two. So it's a lot of wackiness. We're going to talk about all of them because I'm glad you brought that up. A lot of coaches not very happy. We'll put it that way. I think we start in the Big Ten, gentlemen. I think we start in the Big Ten because a massive upset took place yesterday, and that being the USC Trojans going to Champaign and beating Illinois, and quite frankly, beat them up. USC goes to Illinois and wins 82-72. Surprising result considering how well Illinois has looked. I know this was another game without Kasper Siakachonis, and it really came back to bite them. Desmond Claude, the former Xavier player, drops 31 on Illinois in the 10-point upset victory. Coach, I'll come to you first. Obviously a big win for USC, but how surprising is this to you that Illinois kind of dropped a stinker and kind of got ran at home?
Well, it's surprising on a couple levels because, one, they were winning at halftime. Illinois was up 3. You think, okay, here we go. They'll take it to 7, take it to 10, and win the game. And USC had an answer. Obviously, Claude had an amazing game. Illinois did not respond, and USC took it going away. You're right. It's a shocking result and a heck of a win for the Trojans. One they obviously needed on the road, and I guess Illinois, without the young kid, I guess it is going to affect them some. And over time, when you lose a really, really good player, eventually it does bite you. But I didn't think it would bite him on this day.
Michael, if I told you that USC made 2 fewer 3-pointers and shot 10 fewer free throws, there's no chance that we would have said Illinois loses this game. But
No,
USC end up winning.
Yeah, absolutely not. But then again, with the way this USC team is constructed, they don't have a ton of shooters. So like it doesn't surprise me that they're only making 5 threes in a game that they end up scoring 80 points in. Yeah, no Jacket Jonas definitely makes a difference. But I don't know. This USC team is pretty weirdly constructed, but they just have so much athleticism. Like they pretty much just have 5 guys who could probably be playing like linebacker. Like that's obviously a bit of an exaggeration. It's a huge exaggeration, but they just have like bruisers. Like Desmond Claude wants to get down in the lane and beat you down low. St. Thomas is the exact same way. Rayshon Agee, Wesley Yates played a damn good game. Good for him. He was hurt last year, didn't play, but yeah, this was just a weird result, but like it's not too surprising. USC has a ton of athleticism, and especially without someone as skilled as Yakachonis who can run a lot of the offense, I can see how it would bite them. Kind of surprised that we didn't bite them against Penn State and did here, but that's conference play for you.
Well, and I've also learned Penn State is banged up. So Baldwin only played 15 minutes because he hurt his back. Puff Johnson got a concussion in the game, and the other kid, a big kid, hurt. So they really got injured in that Illinois game. I found that out post game.
Well, it was clear what USC's MO was. Is that, I mean, they only took 14 3-point shots. They took 51 inside the 3-point line shots, basically 51 2-point shots, 29 of 51 for 56%, but rounded up 57%. They scored 1.08 points per possession. They held Illinois to under 1. Now, I'd have to go look, but I can't imagine many times this year Illinois was held under 1 point per possession. So their MO is get inside, attack the paint, and then try to finish through contact, and it worked to perfection. I mean, Claude, we talked about 31 points, 12 of 18 from 2. Didn't make a 3, made all of his free throws. And you look at Illinois, they're shooting. I mean, 16 of 30 from inside the 3-point line, 7 of 32 from the 3-point line for a combined 23 of 62 from the floor. It's not really going to get it done most days.
No, you about summed that up. You're right. I mean, good win for USC.
Yeah, looking back, it looks like Illinois has been held below 1 point per possession 3 other times this year. Oakland in the 3rd game of the season, could have just been an off day. Northwestern, when Northwestern beat them in overtime.
Beat them, yeah.
And Tennessee. And they had 97 points per possession against the best defense in the country.
So the 4 times it's happened, they've lost 3 times. The other one they played Oakland was able to win. So, I mean, especially a high-powered offense, whether it's an Illinois or an Auburn or Kentucky or whoever, those teams thrive off having like a 1.3, 1.4, 1.5 points per possession. You hold them under 1, chances are they're probably not winning since they're so offensive reliant in a lot of these cases. So that's a great win for USC. I mean, let me look at where their upcoming schedule and stuff's coming at. It moves them to 10-6 and 2-3 in conference. They've got Iowa, Wisconsin coming up this week at home. They go to Nebraska. They've got UCLA. So, I mean, there's some winnable games there considering you've got 4 of your next 5 at home. So we'll see if Musselman's team can start to figure it out a little bit here. But a great win, huge upset in the sport yesterday. Illinois clearly needs Yakachonis back. Like, if they're going to hit their ceiling, they need Yakachonis back badly. Let's go to the SEC. Let's talk about Alabama and Texas A&M last night. Top 10 matchup. The Tide come in to College Station looking to continue what is, at that point, was a 7-game win streak there. And it was a good game, but, man, you talk about the fouls. Coach, I say this every time. I say it in a broader term, but I'll make it more specific. SEC officiating, for whatever reason, is the worst in the sport. They call, like, their inconsistency, the amount of fouls that they love calling. Like, you look at Georgia, we could talk about them. They got another big win. That's a top 25 team. They, in the week, Georgia shot 75 combined free throws. This game took 2 hours and like 30 minutes or whatever it was last night to play. It started at 7:30, didn't end until like well past 10. The SEC has a problem with officials. And I know they don't have specific officials, but the officials who call their games are inconsistent and can slow a game down. With that being said, Alabama gets a huge victory, 94-88. Zerk Phelps tried to do everything he could for A&M without Wade Taylor in this game. He did drop 24. took 29 shots, though, in the process.
Yeah.
But great win for Alabama. I want to hear your guys' thoughts on it.
Well, I think we nailed it, right? Wade didn't play. Bama's going to win. Now, do we know there'd be 88 free throws and all that? I mean, that's just,
It's ridiculous.
Yes, makes it hard to watch, makes it hard to play, makes it hard to coach, makes all of it very, very choppy and difficult. I didn't watch the game. I saw clips. I saw the box score. My reaction is the same as you guys. But Alabama, look, let's whether Taylor played or not, road win in the SEC is a road win in the SEC, and Alabama is right now. They're in a conversation with it. Whatever. 2 or 3 other teams or 4 teams at the top of that league that could win it for sure.
Yeah, I didn't watch this game too closely. I had it on a second screen, so I saw a couple plays. Chris Youngblood impressed me. Again, coming off injury, was on that USF team last year. That was really fun to watch. He had 14 points, 4-7 shooting. He's definitely getting his foot. He's getting healthy. He's getting his feet under him. Mark Sears was awesome as always. One thing that surprised me, just looking at the box score, though, Alabama, beat A&M on the glass. They had 24 offensive rebounds. A&M only had 23. Only 23. But they had a high rebounding percentage. Alabama got over 50% of their own misses. A&M did not. That kind of surprises me. How much of that was because of officiating and guys not wanting to be too physical? I don't know. Also, A&M shot 28 of 48 from the free throw line. 58%. That's not very good. But yeah, not too much more to add on what Josh said. What you guys both said, excuse me.
31 fouls for Alabama, 27 for Texas A&M. A&M goes 28 of 48 from the free throw line. You talk about coming back to bite you in the ass. And then Alabama, 27 of 40, not much better. 88 combined free throws is damn ridiculous. At some point, officials, you have to just turn it on. Like, not every little bump is a foul. And I know I'm maybe talking out of both sides of my mouth, considering I've been ranting about raking guys and it's a foul and everything.
You kind of are.
Yes, I am talking, but there's also a difference too. Some of those fouls last night, guys just breathed on another guy and it was a foul. And so I'm talking about the fouls where a driver goes to the lane, his arm's ripped and it's a no call. That's a foul. But if I'm crowding your airspace, coach, and I'm not touching you, that's not a foul. So I don't know. 88 free throws is ridiculous. SEC has an officiating problem. They really do.
Let me play the other side of this, that every single conference says their officials are the worst.
Yeah, but I think the SEC has the proof in the pudding. Look at all the fouls and free throws that be taken per game.
I can show you some examples last year that would make you throw up. So,
hey, let's talk real quick about Mark Sears because the rest of you mentioned it. He started the year off a little sluggish. We talked about it and kind of in depth, and they were still winning through that gauntlet of the schedule. But here lately, especially in conference play, he's starting to look like the All-American we thought he would be. With him playing this well and them getting production from guys like Chris Youngblood and Aiden Holloway and even Darian Reed, the freshman's been really good here lately. Man, Alabama, they're going to be just a wagon to try to beat. They look like a team that could make another Final Four. Back-to-back years, even not shooting the 3 ball very well. 13 and 37, 13's a lot, but 35% on the year, they're only shooting like 31, 32%. So this team they've come at you with so much depth and so many waves of runs at you. It's hard to keep them down.
Yeah, 100%. This team is really good.
How about this? Going on, as you're listening to you talk there, I looked it up. 5 of the 8 SEC games yesterday, road teams won.
That's crazy too, considering how hard it is to get a victory. Yeah,
5 of the 8: Auburn, Alabama, Florida, Tennessee, and Kentucky.
We're going to talk about Kentucky in a second. Last thing on A&M, obviously they need Wade Taylor. If they're to win, let's say the SEC or make a deep run, they need Wade Taylor. Still put up a hell of a performance without him, though. Does this encourage you for A&M moving forward that they were able to keep this close against Alabama?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, that's a top 5 team, Alabama. I don't know. I mean, A&M, you have to have Taylor. I mean, you have to. You can be good and you can compete and you can do but without him, you can't get what you want ultimately. And that's, either win the SEC tournament, or get to the Final Four.
I'm looking back on my top 25s that we've submitted over the weeks. I've had A&M in my top 10 since week 6 of the college basketball season, and then the top 15 maybe all season. Had him there, I don't think. No, 17. So, but yeah, I still think A&M's top 10 team. This team rules.
Yeah, I think this is a really good team, and I can't wait to preview these games because it doesn't get any easier for any of these teams. Let's stay in the SEC. You mentioned it, Coach. SEC road victory. Kentucky, number 7, goes to Mississippi State, number 12, and beats them 95-90. You're talking about putting up 95 points on a Chris Jans team who was only given up 66 points per game. And Kentucky did it with Andrew Carr was very questionable coming into this game. He ends up playing, giving them 13 and 6. I think they said he's dealing with back spasms, have to come off the floor. He only played 21 minutes, but gave him a very effective 21. But I look at this, gentlemen, as the Jackson Robinson game. He has really struggled here lately, not been the player that we thought maybe could be all SEC coming into the year. He had that great performance against Gonzaga in the second half. We thought maybe that was the breakout. Didn't really come to fruition. And then, but man, you talk about putting a team on your back last night. 27 points, 7 of 10 from the three-point line. You get 15 from Otega-Owe. Lamont Butler struggled in the first half, but made huge plays on both ends of the ball. Hits the go-ahead bucket to put Kentucky up. I think it's 3 or 4 there late. And then comes down and defends Josh Hubbard, who you talk about a tough shot maker. He forced them into an awful shot. They finished with the rebound. Lamont ends up with 10 points, 8 assists, 1 rebound, 1 steal. And then I got to give love to Ansley Almanor. Second half, Mississippi State erases a 14-point deficit, takes the lead. Looks like they may have they do have the momentum, but may be able to pull away and get a win. Ansley Almanor hits 3 threes in the span of like 4 minutes to give Kentucky the lead and allow them to never look back. This was surprising because on here, I picked Mississippi State to win by 12 or more. I didn't know if Kentucky could be tough enough to go in an environment like that against a team like that and get a win. But, man, they showed their toughness last night, and that's a big, big-time road victory over a top 15 team.
When you shoot like that, it don't matter how tough you are.
16 of 32 from 3.
They're not losing. When they shoot like that, I don't know who can beat them. So, it may come down to, as much as we want to talk about this Kentucky team, they have good when they shoot the ball well, they're going to be with any team in the country. And when they don't, they're going to have their issues.
I think that's fair.
I mean, when we were previewing this game, I said almost tongue in cheek, they're going to have to do what Butler did, and Butler shot over 50% from 3.
You did say
Kentucky shot over 50% from 3, and they won.
You're right.
Ansley Almanor, you gave him a shout. I thought he was great in this game. I thought obviously Jackson Robinson 27, but I thought Almanor made a huge difference in that second half, as you mentioned. And you also mentioned Lamont Butler, his defense on Josh Hubbard, and 10 points, 8 assists. Covered everything I would have said. But coach hit the nail on the head. He took the words out of my mouth.
How about this for Mark Pope? He got his 200th win as a coach last night. He is now 4-0 against top 15 teams at Kentucky, and he's done it in the first 2 months.
Wow.
That's incredible. And also, Alabama ended up tying because, again, the Alabama game ended later than the Kentucky game, despite starting an hour earlier. But Alabama and Kentucky are the only 2 teams in college basketball that have 4 quad 1A victories in college basketball. You're talking about building resumes, gentlemen. Gonzaga, Duke, Louisville. We're going to talk Louisville. What a great performance they've been on here lately. Mississippi State and Florida. 5 huge victories already for the Wildcats this year. I mean, this team is going to be up and down maybe, but they're really good, good.
Yeah, they're going to lose some games because they're not going to shoot it well, and physicality is going to be an issue, whatever. And then they're going to win a lot because they just can shoot the shit out of it.
Yeah. You know what? I look at them like this because there is proof in the pudding in this aspect. When the team they're playing has hype to them and has a number, particularly like whether it be in the top 15, and because we've seen it, they're going to step their game up and meet the challenge. The games you worry about is when they play a Georgia on the road, when they play an Ohio State who is struggling in Madison Square Garden. Kind of the teams they're expected to beat and beat by a lot and cover the spread. Those are the ones that are going to struggle. I have no issues when they play teams that are ranked. They're going to meet the challenge because they've shown us that they will meet the challenge. So, I mean, this team up and down, but that potential is there, DeRosa. This could be really, really a special team. And let's talk Mississippi State real quick because that's a really good team. I don't want to skip over them. Cam Matthews led the way for the Bulldogs, 19 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists. He did everything, especially when they got down 14. He had 6 steals, just be not giving up the ball. A lot of times Kentucky would get a rebound. He'd come up behind, back tip, and take the ball. He was all over the place in 36 minutes. Cam Matthews was awesome in this game. Josh Hubbard had 15, but never really got off. It was the most quiet 15. But RJ Melendez started the game off hot, had a stretch in the second half where he was hitting shots. This is a really good Mississippi State team. For those who maybe only care about name brand teams, the Bulldogs are really good. They're really good.
Yeah, they're legit. Top 15, 20-ish team. They're good. You hit the nail on the head there again.
That's a really good win. I mean, again, 4 Q1A victories to tie with Alabama, 5 incredible wins to begin the Mark Pope era. His 200th win, so congratulations, Coach, on that. And you know what their reward is for beating Mississippi State? They come back Tuesday in Rupp Arena and get Texas A&M. Welcome to the SEC, gentlemen. I mean, it's crazy, crazy. Let's go one more on the SEC here. Let's talk about Florida. They went down to Arkansas yesterday, and coming off the 30-point ass whipping of the AP number 1 and ECB number 2 Tennessee on Tuesday night. This could have been a trap game for them. Could have fell a little short. Arkansas is 0-2 in conference to begin conference play. They're playing at home in Bud Walton. Seemed like a prime letdown spot. Arkansas jumps out to an 11-2 lead, and it really felt like, all right, maybe Florida coming back down to earth a little bit. The Gators just stay so composed and end up getting a victory here, 71-63. Even find themselves down. They have dudes step up and make plays. Will Richard, Walter Clayton, and Alex Condon all with 12, Elijah Martin 14. And Florida gets a big-time road victory, and it sends Arkansas to 0-3 in SEC play. I want to ask you guys, we know how good Florida is. Is Arkansas an NCAA tournament team based upon what your eyes are telling you 2 months into the season?
Boy, I think it's going to be close. I don't. I worry about this team. John L. Davis is not right for whatever reason. I mean, which is shocking because believe me, I know how good he is.
Coach, we scored as many points as John L. Davis did watching this game yesterday.
I know. And look, they're saying he has to be hurt. Something's wrong. The kid is too good of a player. I mean, and he's proven it for 4 years now or 3 years, whatever it's been.
Yeah.
So that obviously is a huge issue for them among other issues that they have. And being in this league is probably the number one problem they have. And Coach Cal's press conference, I'm still trying to figure out what the heck was going on there. And so, yeah, they got a lot of concerns. And if they're going on the road, who do they play Tuesday?
Let me look it up. They got LSU. Their next 2 this upcoming week is at LSU, at Missouri. 2 very losable games.
And they have to win one of them.
Oh, they got to get one. DeRosa, to John L. Davis's point, I think 2 things. One, they say he's still struggling with a wrist injury. I don't know what the health of that is, but he's played in every game, basically. So it's got to be at least good enough to play. And the other thing, I just think it's Cal's system. Like, I think it's this boring, let's go dribble drive no matter what. Let's play no pass offense. Go get your own. And SEC defenses are not like playing against other teams when he was at FAU where he could go get his shot as easy. We've talked about the athleticism, the talent, and the size in the SEC. I think the system is not a great fit for him, and it's really hurting him.
If I was Josh, I'd be making the argument that we look at all the other FAU transfers and seeing them play pretty well. Nick Boyd, SD, San Diego State. You're looking at Elijah Martin at Florida also in this game. You're looking at Flagg Golden, whatever, and saying those guys are playing well. Why can't the guy who was considered the best guy on the team play well? If I was Josh, that's what I would be saying. But yeah, you mentioned definitely a little injured. Also, though, they made 3 threes in this game. This was a game, you mentioned it, Josh. This was a perfect spot for Arkansas to just show up, win a huge game, and get back on the tournament path. And they just completely dropped a dud. Like,
it was my bank on it.
Yeah, it just played bad. And Florida didn't even play particularly well, but they just found ways. And that high-low action with Condon and who really any other big they were running it with. But largely, I saw Condon get a couple layups off of it. It was just working, and Florida wasn't shooting it well, but Arkansas shot 16 threes and only made 3 of them. Boogie Fland hit 2 of them. You mentioned Arkansas being a tournament team. Do we know? Someone's got to lose games in this league. Someone has to.
You're right.
Well, let me ask you this:
True.
Is Arkansas more close to finishing 6-12 in the league, or putting a run together and finishing 9-9?
6-12.
I think 6-12 as well.
Let me look at the schedule.
Yeah, I got to go through that. Yeah, I have to go through it.
Well, while you're doing that, I want to read off some stats based from our friends at KenPom. Conference play only on offensive end. So in the SEC play only through 3 games, Arkansas ranks 15th of 16 teams in adjusted efficiency on offense. They are shooting 20.6% from the 3-point line in SEC games. 20.6% from the 3-point line. And we all know that's not Cal's MO. We know it. But, man, he had teams that could at least knock down a couple open shots when he was at Kentucky. This team is not hitting shots. When you cut the water off from them getting to the rim, they can't score. If you don't allow Boogie Flan to get to the rim, if you don't allow DJ Wagner to get to the rim, and if you don't allow Adu Thero to get to the rim, they cannot score. And we're seeing that in proof in the pudding with that.
And get nothing from John L. Davis. It's going to be hard to win.
I'll add too. KenPom has them projected winning 6 games for the rest of the season. Makes sense.
Yeah. And the ones they have them winning are Georgia and Oklahoma, and we know how good both, especially Georgia right now. So that's not even a given. It's a tough time, but Florida, listen, we waxed poetic the other day about Florida. This is another really good win. They're right there on pace to win the SEC. We know how good they are. But Arkansas has got real issues. And Coach, you talked about Cal's press conference. This is the same shtick he's been doing the last 6 years at Kentucky, where he's like, "Oh, I don't even know who we play next. Who do we play? Oh, wait, you mean we went 2 of 12 or 2 of 16 from layups? No, that can't be right." It's his shtick. That's what he does. And it wore thin with Big Blue Nation, and it looks like it's already wearing thin with some Arkansas people if you follow them on Twitter. And not only has Cal lost his fastball that people keep talking about, Cal's lost a slider. He barely has the third pitch right now. He's lost his fastball and a slider. Let's see if he's got a changeup somewhere, but this is not good for Arkansas. I don't think they're an NCAA tournament team whatsoever at the moment. Now, in the SEC, plenty of opportunities to change that and get big-time wins and really get yourself back in the mix. But their best win right now is Michigan, which that looks really good. But their second best win is Lipscomb. And that's not going to help your resume. So we'll see what happens with Arkansas here, but it is
not plenty of opportunities. You said it.
Plenty of opportunities, but do you trust them with their offense right now? Because I sure the hell don't.
No, it's struggling.
Let's go to the Big East, DeRosa, and I know I jinxed you. I'm so sorry. UConn coming off the loss to Villanova midweek, goes to Georgetown in front of a packed arena, home arena for Georgetown, which we begged for, and it looked like they got it. What was it, 15,000, I think is what they said? Or
17,000. 17,000 people.
Okay, 17,000 people. And listen, we know how good UConn is with or without McNeely. They jumped Georgetown. They got up big. They got up 23 at one point, 64-41. Georgetown did a hell of a job rallying. They lose 68-60, but they got themselves back in the game. They never gave up. And again, I know we talk moral victories, Michael, and it sucks. You don't want to be the team that's always moral victory you. But the fact they rallied and this didn't turn into a 40-point blowout, that says something about Georgetown. I still buy this team that can make the NCAA tournament.
How many minutes did Epps play, Michael?
He didn't play much. He looked pretty hampered.
14 minutes.
Yeah, he was pretty hampered. Curtis Williams off the bench, I thought. Curtis Williams has turned into a player, the Louisville transfer. He's been really solid for Georgetown in this time. But, yeah, I think this was pretty simple. This was a young team that came into a game, and they were playing with emotion, and that can go both ways. When it's going good, it's going really well, and you just hit that flow state, and everybody's getting pumped with you. But when it goes bad, and the emotions, I think, got them in this game. They were playing super emotional, and they got beat. UConn is a damn good team. If you make mistakes against UConn, they're going to make you pay. UConn made them pay. Yeah, you mentioned credit to the team. They came back, but really, I don't think UConn gets this big league if Josh doesn't absolutely jinx the Hoyas. I mean, he dropped 2 guarantees on my team. I guarantee Butler makes the tournament dead. Georgetown, they're going to win this game. Not even close. So thanks, Josh.
And the reward is to go to St. John's on Tuesday.
Yeah.
My bad.
You're fine.
That's That's a big game. I mean, that they could go 3 in a row there, Michael. That's a tough one. That's a tough. And then they get DePaul at home and then go 2-0. Wow, they got 3 of the next 4 on the road. This will be a big stretch.
Listen, like I said, I know you'd never want to be the team that's moral victory you, but down 23, get it back to 8. There's a lot of fight there. They've got to figure out offensively, I think, because the defense, as you mentioned, Michael, is really good. Offensively, how do they score in bunches? They need, in these big games, they need consistent scoring all the way throughout, or they need to be able to put like kill shot runs together throughout the course of a game. They need to find themselves where maybe things are bogged down and then boom, 12-0 run, or maybe like a 13-2 or something. And I don't think they have that kind of spurt ability yet, but they're there. They're really close. I still think that's an NCAA tournament team. Let's talk about some other notable results, and I think we got to go to number 1, Auburn. They beat South Carolina on the road in a very competitive game. And this big story out of this, coming out of this game, there's All-American Player of the Year front runner, Johni Broome, goes down early with an ankle injury. We don't know an official status. I know he's getting an MRI. It sounds like a really bad potential ankle sprain, which probably keeps him out for a month or more. Because we know, especially with big guys, Coach, like foot, ankle problems, those linger a lot longer than guards do. And this could be a long-term thing for Auburn. They get the win because they're good enough to kind of see this one out. Miles Kelly gives them 14 to Hyde Pettiford, superstar freshman off the bench, 15. But the big story here, gentlemen, Johni Broome being out, and if he's out for a significant length of time, Auburn, it changes the kind of the course of where they were headed, I think.
So here's a question for you two, because this is your kind of area of expertise and not mine the last couple of years, because I just don't pay attention. There's so many injuries. It's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is it like this every year? I mean star players, Wade Taylor, Johni Broome, Zach Fremantle, go down the list. The Epps, on and on and on and on and on.
It is to a degree. I think some years are worse than the others. Would you say that, Michael? I think some are worse than others. But I feel like every year, at least 1 or 2 really good teams has their season kind of thrown off course by a big time.
I feel like it's like 10 to 15 teams right now.
Yeah. And I also think that's just kind of like the narrative around teams. It's like why you want, like when we talk about Xavier, you have to mention Fremantle being injured. When we talk about Auburn, I mean, Johni Broome's the best player in the country. I don't know how many years we can go back and see when the best player in the country gets hurt. But like, I also feel like it's just kind of like we talk about this team, you have to note this guy is injured. And I just think that's part of it as well.
Coach, you'll go ahead.
I'm just going to give you an example. Like for like the best team I had at Rice, we ended up being 16-17, right? It was our bet. We had Carl Pierre transfer from UMass. We had Quincy, we had Travis, we had Max. We were good. Quincy gets hurt in game 22 or whatever. And this is a, all league type player in the Conference USA at the time, who's now on a 2-way with the Lakers. And we go 2-9 without him. It's just so hard to lose your best player and continue and win in tough. Now, granted, Conference USA is not the SEC, but it's all relative compared to,
of course,
and that's what I'm just saying. I'm just seeing so many. I mean, look how much Fremantle hurting Xavier. Wade Taylor is going to hurt A&M. I mean, the kid for Illinois, him. I mean, there's so many guys this year. Maybe it's just me because I haven't.
Yeah.
No, I think you're right. And I was going to give you an example, Coach, and you'll remember this as well as I do. The 99-2000 team, or the 99-2000 season, Michigan State wins the title. I don't think they're the best team. Cincinnati was. Kenyon Martin gets hurt right before the Conference USA or wasn't Conference? Was it not Conference USA?
Right.
Where was it? Were they Conference USA? I forget. Yeah. But he gets hurt right before conference tournament. They were going to be the overall number 1 seed, and they were the best team. He gets hurt, completely derailed them. Michigan State ends up winning a title that year. So you'll remember that.
I do remember it. And it's just amazing. I guess this year there's so many of them. It's balancing it out in some of these games. I mean, dudes are out all over the place.
And you want to talk about this. We hate assuming, but it sounds bad. I don't think anything's broken until we see an MRI and an official note, but at the very least, I think it's a really bad high ankle sprain. That's a month or more, especially for a dude his size. Let's just look at their next 5 or 6 games. Auburn, that being home Tuesday against Mississippi State, who's going to be pissed off that they lost at home last night. That's a tough matchup. Then you go at Georgia. We've already seen Georgia this week take down 2 top 25 teams in that building at Stegman Coliseum. Then on the 25th, they're playing host to Tennessee. Then they go to LSU, which is like a tricky building. Then they go at Mississippi. We know how good Ole Miss has been. You're home against Oklahoma, home against Florida. Like, there's a chance, and I'm not saying this will because Auburn's still really good, but everything runs through Johni Broome with his scoring, his size, his rebounding, and his passing ability. You're losing the player of the year front runner right now. There is not a guarantee that they win all these games. Like, they could easily lose like
agree.
they could easily lose 3 or 4. And then now all of a sudden their seedings change, their SEC title hopes maybe are dashed. This is a massive injury to the best team in college basketball.
Yeah, I know everybody loves to say, injuries are part of it and everybody has injuries. Well, some matter different. A lot. Some matter a lot more than others.
Look, I mean, it's a brutal part of the game. It is part of the game, and it sucks that it is. But
well, hopefully the kid's not out too long, and when they only take if they take a couple losses, no big deal because they're still so good. But anyway, I didn't mean to go on a rant there. It's just amazing how many of these guys are out hurt.
And there's a difference in your star player going out than no offense to your 7th guy. You can make up your 7th guy, your star player. So we'll keep an eye. Auburn still gets to win. They stay undefeated in SEC play, but man, we'll keep an eye and see what the official word for Johni Broome. Let's bring Peyton on because I do want to talk about his Louisville
for a second here. I bet Johni Broome to win National Player of the Year at 50-1. And this injury, I think it's going to be. I think this injury is going to be the reason I lose that. So I think it is. Yeah. Cooper Flagg is now a huge favorite and deservedly so. That kid is special.
We're going to talk about Cooper here in just a minute, but I want to bring Peyton on. He asked to come back on. We're going to talk about his Louisville Cardinals for a minute, gentlemen, because I've been singing their praises. I know you guys have as well. They go to Pittsburgh yesterday, following up a big home victory in midweek against Clemson. They go on the road to a top 30 Ken Pom team in Pittsburgh, probably their biggest challenger to finish second place in the ACC. And they go in there in a really good game, win 82-78. Ryan Smith continues his hot shooting, 25 points, 7 of 11 from three-point line. And Louisville is rolling now. 6 in a row. They're now 5-1 in the ACC. Their only loss being to the best team, Duke. Peyton, I know you're feeling good about the Cardinals right now. Louisville basketball is alive and well, and they look to be the real deal finally.
Where's your Denny Crumb cutout?
I don't have it yet. It's still in the mail. I'm waiting for it to come. Hopefully it comes soon. Listen, you talked about injuries. I don't know if there's a team in the ACC that's more injury critical than Louisville. We've had Corin Johnson out for the year, Kason Play out for the year. Trioli just came back from a broken arm a couple weeks ago. He's been incredible, by the way, since he's came back. So Louisville has gone through our fair share of injuries throughout the whole season, and it really changed the mode of how this team performs. Before Kason Play went out, Javon Hadley's role has changed immediately. He was just a guy who came off the bench, more like an energy guy, used his physical attributes against teams, throwing down low, really as a defensive anchor for us. Ever since Kason Playa came out, this kid has upped his game up to a level that really nobody expected. As something that he didn't really do at Colorado either. 32 points and 10 rebounds against Clemson. Incredible performance. He had foul trouble last night against Pittsburgh with 4 fouls. Came in with like 6 minutes to go, immediately went on a 5-0 run for us to really give us the lead back and help us our chances of winning the game. He's been incredible. I mentioned Trioli. He's been great. Terrence Edwards as a defensive anchor has really showed throughout these last couple of weeks. And guys, when Wayne Smith is hitting, there's nothing you can do to stop him. Some of those threes he was hitting, he hit that one flare screen his last 3 of the game. He was fading away, and it was just nothing but net. When he's on. Good luck stopping him. And Chucky Hurtburn, if the game's close, he's one of the best point guards in the country. Give the ball to him, and he'll make the right play. He is as clutch as it gets throughout the season. Cards are back. I'm so happy. 6 in a row. First 5-1 start in the ACC since 2019. We snapped Pittsburgh's 15-game home winning streak, by the way. Huge quad 1 win and huge win for our resume heading into the tournament.
Hey, I've been ranking them, gentlemen. The last couple of weeks, I've been ranking them. And I'm thinking they're going to – if they don't make the top 25 in our poll tomorrow, I would imagine they're right there on the edge. To me, that is the top 25 team in the country, the way they're playing.
and overcoming those injuries that you talked about. Credit to them. Hell of a job. Kudos to Louisville and Pat. Tremendous job.
Yeah, just looking at the box score, obviously Rain Smith, 7-11 from 3, that'll definitely help. But I think they won this game on the offensive glass. Like, Louisville doesn't shoot it well at all from the free throw line. Pittsburgh does, gets more attempts, more makes. They shoot it pretty similarly percentage-wise from the field, and Pittsburgh shoots it better from 3. But Louisville got 17 of their own misses, and Pittsburgh only had 5 offensive rebounds. I think that was largely the difference in this game. And it wasn't just one guy. Terrence Edwards, 3 offensive boards. James Scott also had 3. Rain Smith with 2. Smallest guy on the floor. 1 from Hadley, Hepburn, Traore, and then 2 from Connie Roos off the bench. That makes a huge difference in a game like this.
Yeah, I would agree. Chucky Hepburn, to Peyton's point, 4 steals. Like, you look up in a lot of these games, he's got 3, 4, 5 steals. Like, I really like this Louisville team when they've moved up to 37th in KenPom. Like we talked about, 12-5 overall, 6-game win streak, 5-1 in the league. Only 1 game behind Duke is the only team that's beat them in the league. And they're pretty balanced, like offensively 43rd, defensively 45th. And that's with not shooting the 3 ball at a great percentage rate. They're only shooting at 30.2% overall, but the league's very manageable because we talk about ACC's not the strongest. Like, it's Duke and then everybody else. Then I think you look at Louisville's team number 2 and look at their upcoming schedule, Peyton. At Syracuse on Tuesday, always a tricky place to go play at the Carrier Dome. Then you come back to play Virginia, who you just beat a couple weeks ago. At SMU, you play Wake Forest, who's battling for their NCAA tournament life. At Georgia Tech, at Boston College. Like, there's a lot of winnable games. And you don't play North Carolina and you don't play Duke again. There is a legitimate shot Louisville could go through and maybe only lose another 1 or 2 games in the league.
Yeah, right now looking at KenPom, the only game they have us losing throughout the rest of the season is against SMU. And they only have us losing 78-77, and that's because it's at SMU. Everything else they have us winning out. And I do think that there's a chance that we can possibly win out. The games that we really needed to win to help our resume was the game against Pittsburgh, obviously, Clemson, and North Carolina. We got all 3. We need to keep this same energy throughout the rest of the season. Got to win every game. Because we do go at Syracuse. Syracuse isn't the Syracuse of old. Virginia isn't the Virginia of old. SMU, a lot of these games that we have left in the schedule, we have some good teams left to play, but we still got to win these games because we end up losing them. It could hurt our resume more so than helping us. So we got to keep the same energy of got to win every game we can possible. But I really love this team. We're clicking. The guys' roles, they figured out the roles. They genuinely love each other. Like, they care about each other. Like, the end of the game, all the fans are obviously very, very happy with how well we're performing here lately. The mold around Louisville has changed. The energy around Louisville has changed. And you talk about Coach of the Year candidates. I'm putting Pat Kelsey's name up there with anybody.
He's got to be.
With all the injuries that has came up throughout this season, his year 1, Kenny Payne in 2 years had 12 wins total. He's got that in year 1. Year 1, and some of the wins that he's gotten has been great. And all of our losses are not bad losses. Outside really the Tennessee blowout, we've been close in every single game that we've been in, and it's going to continue to be that way. Louisville's a for sure tournament team, and it makes me really happy that the Cards are back.
Hey, Louisville basketball is back, and it's good for the sport.
I think that Kelsey definitely has to be up there in the Coach of the Year conversation, and I will also say there's no way Louisville is not losing another game. So I know you're excited.
Yeah. At that point, I was
everybody calm down. Everybody calm down. I know you're pumped, and you should be. It's fun. It's good. Good for Louisville. Happy for them. Happy for you and all their fans. It's awesome.
Yeah. Louisville continues to be really, really fun. Good win. I want to talk about one other ACC team just real quick because you did mention it, Cooper Flagg and Duke. The kid's phenomenal. Sets an ACC record, freshman record, 42 in the win against Notre Dame last night. There was nothing he couldn't do. 16-17 free throw line, 4-6 from the 3-point line, 7 assists, 6 rebounds, 1 steal. This kid's spectacular. There's been 3 other freshmen to win National Player of the Year. Anthony Davis, Zion Williamson, and I just forgot the other one. But he's looking to make his name on that list. Cooper Flagg's the real deal. Special talent, gentlemen.
Michael, how many shots did Cooper Flagg take? 14, 15, 16?
He took 14.
Okay, 42 points on 14 shots.
That's
crazy
ridiculous.
efficiency. Crazy efficiency.
It's literally, it's almost impossible.
I think, first of all, if it's not Janai Broom, Cooper Flagg's the National Player of the Year at this point, one. And two, I think we might have to start talking about this Duke team compared to the rest of the ACC the way we've talked about Gonzaga for the last few years. They're just the best team by a country mile. It is not close.
I would agree.
They could go undefeated for the rest of the season.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is what Flagg's doing not more impressive than what Broom's doing? I mean, is that not how we should weigh that award and something we should think about?
I mean, at this point,
here's the
favorite. So,
here's the thing: these two, I think, are very close. In just my opinion, I think you give the slight edge to Auburn because, Janai Broom, Auburn, however you want to look at it, because the level week in and week out that he's doing it against. Because look at their schedule. I know Duke played a very, very tough schedule, but look at the consistency. There's a lot of those games. Like Auburn doesn't beat Iowa State unless Janai Broom just carries them on his back in that Maui game. You look at what he's done night in and night out. I think he has the slight edge because of the competition and he's producing. Cooper Flagg's been amazing. And I think, honestly, if he doesn't have those two games against Kentucky and Kansas where he turns the ball over late, he may be leading regardless. But I think people are looking at that right now.
He's also dropped a couple duds. I don't know if Broom had. I have to look at Broom's box score, but and these were games that Duke won by 1 million, so it didn't really matter. But he had only 6 against Incarnate Word. He had 9 against Seattle, and then he had 8 against Wofford. He's dropped a couple duds. I don't know if Broom also has, but at the same time, the highs. 42 points. 42 points, 6 boards, 7 assists. I don't know if there's anyone in college basketball that could do that.
And he should be a senior in high school, coach. He reclassified. He should be a senior in high school, and he's doing this against the best competition.
I love watching him play. The kid he's one of those special dudes. They come along once every how many years. He is, and I love his demeanor. His post-game quotes were just high level. His maturity, it's a package, right? It's the whole thing that makes him so great. Obviously, he's talented, but the rest of it means where he's going is high places, to the penthouse.
He's going to make a lot of money playing basketball, and he's going to be a lot of fun to watch for the next 20 years.
The number 1 pick in the NBA draft this upcoming summer, and I think it's without a shadow of a doubt. Let's talk real quick about another top 5 team who struggled. I know Texas Tech is good. That's a hard place to go win, but Iowa State was on the ropes, gentlemen. They're the number 3 team in the ECB top 25. There were some people who voted them number 1, and they struggled. They were down late, and then I think it was Joshua Jefferson hits the bucket at the rim to send it to overtime, and then they pull out 85-84 victory in overtime. This is a really good win on a tough building to go try to get a win at, and all that matters today is winning, but Texas Tech had them. I think if you're Texas Tech, you feel like you had them dead to rights and kind of let it slip away.
It's just a hell of a win. Period. End of story. Grant's a great coach. Texas Tech's a hard. You said it. That is a gutsy, hang in there, make a play late, get it to OT, win. It's just impressive.
Trevor,
Jefferson made the play.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Good.
I was going to say Jefferson made the play in overtime too. He made a bucket in overtime that won him the game.
He did. I was going to ask Trevor, how about we talk a lot about Keshawn Gilbert, Tamin Lipsey. Gilbert had 14, Lipsey had 9, but they get 26 off the bench from Curtis Jones in this game. Without his performance, they probably don't get the road win.
They don't, but it's also it's the identity of the way Otts has built that team. It's the identity of, okay, it's a next man up mentality. When they can win games just from I really don't think there's any teams that can go. No, I'm not saying Texas Tech is the hardest. It's probably not even a top 10 place difficulty in the country. Maybe it is, but the fact that they can go into that building and be grinded it out. I think Maui helped them. I think that really, really did. I think going 3 days in a row like that I think that helps build the culture and identity of your team throughout the season. And obviously Otts, we know how incredible of a defensive coach he is and what that team's done. It just, to me, that the thing that stood out was Momcilovic had 5 points. That's not, they're just a way more efficient. They're just a way more efficient and more fluid team when he's really comfortable, right? He's able to space the floor. He's able to give them better looks in the pick and pop. When he's playing 17 minutes, not really in foul trouble. Obviously, I think Texas Tech kind of game planned him out of the game a little bit. They're a lot more physical. Maybe he was just kind of the lame duck at that point, but I think that was a huge reason for this game being close for most of it is the 5 points there from Momcilovic, and that's something I think to monitor how teams scout him moving forward.
I do want to give credit to Texas Tech. JT Toppin is somebody that we on this show last year when he was at New Mexico really loved as a freshman. He gave Texas Tech 18 points. They also got 18 from Chance McMillan and 18 from Christian Anderson off the bench. The Red Raiders 11-4, 2-2 in conference play now. That's an NCAA tournament team. They're 18th in KenPom for a reason. Really incredible college basketball game. And at the end of the day, it don't matter how you do it, you just win. And Iowa State did that. They've got a big one coming up this week we're going to talk about that I think is really going to shape who wins the Big 12. We'll talk about here in just a moment. But before we do that, we got to show some love to our friends and sponsors over at W Energy. W is a clean energy drink that is made to give you focus with no crash, jitters, or angst like other energy drinks. They have no maltodextrin fillers and do not use artificial dyes. W contains vitamins, amino acids, a nootropic, and 150 milligrams caffeine. Their product is made in the USA in an FDA-inspected facility that strictly adheres to GMP manufacturing guidelines. And if you go to www.w.gg, place an order, use the promo code ECB10 at checkout, you will get 10% off your order. We appreciate W coming on board with us this year. I know Coach had to leave there. We have Trevor. We have people in and out this week on this episode, but this is the fun of it. Let's get some of the big-time games this upcoming week.
Real quick, I want to make a quick point. I want to make 2 quick points on some games that happened this weekend before we fully move on.
Ahead.
One, this win for Iowa State is huge because you go to an analytic, like Texas Tech is an analytical darling. They're 14th in KenPom. This is a team like the numbers love, all the dorks love. You go to their building, you beat them in a game that you were pretty much dead in. If this Chennai Broom injury is sustained for long-term and it still bites them, they could be the best team. Like they could be the number 1 team in the country very quickly, especially because you have Kansas coming to town on the 15th. That's going to be a damn good game. And Curtis Jones is awesome for them. And another team I want to talk about sticking in the Big 12, Cincinnati blows.
Thank you. I was
40 points.
Next. Yes.
This was a team. I don't know where Peyton had them in the magazine. I know I loved them. They were preseason top 25 for me.
He loved them too. He had them like 4th, I think.
Yeah. And like the talent on this roster is there. They are horrible offensively. They don't do anything. They can't make free throws. They can't make threes. They don't get to the free throw line. And when they do, they don't make them. This offense is bad. And they blow. They blow.
I'll just really quick mention as well, because I jumped in at the end of the recaps here. I was tuned in yesterday, even though I haven't been on the pods. Happy to be back. But that Utah State team, I just want to throw out because I've got some other shout outs I want to save for the end, but like I don't think you guys have talked about it yet. To win that, that felt like one of those marquee, like just home game, like Big 12, Kansas versus Kansas. Like it felt like one of those like middle America, deep in the conference season games. Utah State, of course, as we know, is just doing voodoo witchcraft with coaching and just bringing in, 4 coaches in the last 7 years, and they made the tournament every time. Like it's just kind of ridiculous to say that statement out loud. Obviously, they had to get some weird magic with that ball. If you didn't see the play, the ball bounced forward off the rim, then back, then down. Like forward, back, down is crazy. And then to make the free throw, Martinez is an incredible player, but just as a whole, like that environment just really shows you like what a program culture can be, even with the year-to-year turnover. I know a lot of people pick Boise State coming into the year. Obviously, I think you guys did. We're texting about that in the chat. A lot of people should, right? They had the best player in the conference, one of the best built teams in the conference, one of the best coaches. But Utah State, man, like this is a team that probably like at this point, if you win that kind of game, even with that kind of luck, bad free throw shooting down the stretch, this is a team that can win like 1, even 2 games in March. Like this is a really, really good team.
Completely
really,
agree. And
really well coached. They all fit the same vision that Coach Calhoun laid out. He's done one of the best jobs in the transfer portal of any coach in the country.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because I forgot to talk about it in our little reviews there. So we'll touch on it just real quick. Incredible final, like 120 seconds of theater in that game. going back and forth. Utah State missed some free throws. I think they ended up going like 9 of 23 or some crazy number from the free throw line. And then there at the end, Utah State's up. Cardenas hits from Boise State, hits that top of the key three, buries it, puts them up. And then Utah State comes down, to your point. Martinez comes off a little, it wasn't a pin down, but he got his screen up top, catches, shoots. The ball kissed every part of the rim. Softly, by the way. It was a soft kiss. And falls, 4-point play to win the game. Incredible theater. The Mountain West just continues the last couple of years. The better teams in the league give us these incredible action late night. Really, really good game to watch.
Listen to these team stats for Utah State real quick. 61% from the field in the game. 52% from three. By the way, Boise shot 53% and 52, respectively. 6 turnovers, and then they lost the rebounding battle by 6, and they still found a way to win. And then from just a Mountain West perspective as a whole, like, I know it's not the same like kind of push that the media was kind of going through last year with the conference getting 5 or 6 tournament. It ended up being 6 or 5? 6, right? It was an incredible top team, and then UNLV was right there below, and they went on that stupid run, right? This is the top of the conference right now. Just from conference record standpoint, Utah State 6-0, New Mexico 6-0, Colorado State quietly at 4-1 in the conference, Boise State, who they just beat 4-2, San Diego State 3-2, still can make the tournament, UNLV, a team that everybody was kind of really excited about after the run, and even Wyoming, and then Nevada's 9-7. That's like the bottom 3 teams: San Jose State, Air Force, and Fresno State. Those are kind of the 3 teams right at the bottom there. Even San Jose's only 8-10 as a whole, and so like the bottom 3 is really it. After that, it's still a bloodbath.
Yeah, I completely agree. And Mountain West, just late night games, they continue to deliver for us. So I like that shout out because I had it on board and I forgot. So I appreciate you bringing that up. Let's go. What I was about to say, like ESPN gives the taglines, like there's Big Monday historically, which is kind of a Big East night on ESPN when they were on ESPN. And then you have Super Tuesday. Look at this Super Tuesday lineup. All in the SEC. Well, with the exception of one, we'll talk about a Big Ten
let's just call it the SEC Tuesday. That's really what it is.
So. The Super Tuesday will begin with number 12 Mississippi State at number 2 Auburn. Well, number 1 for us, number 2 in the AP poll. Number 1 Auburn for us. We just spent 5 minutes or more talking about Janai Broom's injury, and we talked about Mississippi State, how good they are. I think this is where we find out real quick how good Auburn is without Janai Broom. We know their depth is good. We know Dylan Cardwell has been really good kind of playing alongside Broom. He's started before, but Mississippi State's going to put a whole new level of pressure on them from a physicality standpoint, from the way they have to guard and defend guys like Josh Hubbard, Cam Matthews, kind of being a spark plug for them, doing everything. This is a really good matchup on Tuesday night that I think will challenge Auburn right away on how they'll play without Janai Broom. Gentlemen, what do you see when you look at this game?
I think the size and athleticism of Auburn can give Mississippi State some problems, actually. They're definitely without Broom in this game. It's going to be a really tough one. I'm picking Auburn still. I think they have a ton of size, ton of athleticism. And Mississippi State, for all their strengths, of which they have a lot of, they're pretty small. And I think Auburn's length will really disrupt them, really annoy them. And even if Auburn wants to go 2 guards, I still think they're bigger, longer, faster. I actually think this is I think this is probably Mississippi State's toughest matchup in the SEC, and I think this is one of Auburn's better matchups. So I'm going to stick with Auburn.
I think those are good points, Trevor. The length. Here's the one thing that concerns me is even when Broom's healthy and off the floor, you look at a guy like Chad Baker-Mazara tries to kind of take over, and he can go on stretches where he can score a lot of points, but sometimes he can shoot them out of rhythm. And I worry that he, in his mind, thinks that, oh, well, Janai's out, I've got to step up and carry. And that could go really good or really bad. And Mississippi State's a hell of a defensive team, even though they gave up 95 to Kentucky. We know how great that offense can be. But they were giving up 66 points per game before coming into last night. I think I'm going Mississippi State on an upset on the road. I think Hubbard does not shoot as badly as he did last night. You're not getting 2 bad shooting performances in a row from Josh Hubbard. Cam Matthews will be ready for the challenge. And I think they're really going to try to attack Auburn at the rim and see if you get Cardwell in foul trouble, their next big coming off the bench for Auburn is not nearly as good as Broom and Cardwell. And that's where Mississippi State can take advantage. I think Mississippi State wins a grinded out, ugly game in the jungle.
So I always defer, like when games are this close, and to be clear, KenPom does not think it's ultimately that 85-72 is what Ken
Have
Palmer
they
has. Maybe,
updated though? I don't think they've updated with the Broom
it
injury,
doesn't
though.
factor in injuries.
Oh,
Yeah.
it doesn't. Okay. Well, I mean, the roster's at the bottom. I don't. It affects like what they contribute to that, but that's a good point, I guess. But I mean, look, is Janai? I mean, look, I'll just say this then. It's 85-72 advantage Auburn without injuries. Like, how much is Janai Broom worth at that point? Is he worth 15 points?
No, I think so. I mean, look what I don't know his averages. One of us had to pull it up, but he's what averaging? Like
I don't mean literally. I mean like from just a from just an A to B. Like, is he worth in a spread scenario? 15 points?
Betting wise, 3.5 feels about right, and 13.5 to me would have been a little wide anyway on this game. I would have taken the plus 13.5. So I'd probably, if I was setting, I don't know,
10, 9.5.
I'd say like 8. To me,
and my point being, it wasn't even about the line that he would set and move. It was, I typically at that point, if I think the game's going to be close, and I was just kind of pulling Kimball up to see like what he thought, is I would defer to the best player on the floor, and that's Hubbard. I think at least right now, I know the result from last game isn't exactly what you want to see from him, but offense doesn't always travel, and I think the issue that I'd be having is Auburn's a really good defensive team. I know they're 20th, Mississippi State is better, and so I just feel like Miles Kelly's going to eventually just have a game. Like I feel like I've been in his corner. Like I know he's been really good, but like I just feel like there's a game if he's going to step up and do that, it's going to be beating a matchup like this where they really need him to. And I know that they're deeper. You mentioned Mazzara, but like they can coach through that. They can coach through him like kind of taking errant, stupid shots because he did that in Maui. And so
no, I completely. I
think if Miles Kelly has a game that I've been asking him to have on this podcast for 2 months, then I think I think Auburn's going to be fine. The problem is, like we texted about last night, this is a significant injury. And I just don't know. I'm not necessarily worried about the Mississippi State game. I'm worried about the next 25 days, calendar days.
And that's a great point too, Miles Kelly, because you remember at the very beginning of the year, he was giving them like 21. Like he was good, and then he's kind of faded a little bit. But like we talked about in our text group last night about the importance of Janai Broom, everything runs through him. When they elevate and run those flex cuts, who's usually the big passing the ball off the flex cuts? It's Janai Broom. And Dylan Cardwell can make those passes, but not nearly as effectively. Dylan Cardwell doesn't step out and shoot threes like Janai Broom has been doing. So I worry about kind of the flow. Then at that point, it becomes a guard game. And again, Josh Hubbard, do you think he's going to have 2 bad shooting performances back to back? I don't think so. And the fact that we're even talking about this close, if Janai Broom was healthy, I think we'd clean sweep Auburn at home, the Jungle. They win comfortably, even though Mississippi State's good. But we're talking about it in the terms of like, Mississippi State's got a chance now. I'm going Mississippi State on the road with a massive victory. Auburn is good. They're really good with or without Janai Broom. But the first kind of hangover game effect, figuring things out, this is a tough matchup against a really tough Mississippi State team. I'm going the Bulldogs on the road in a big-time upset.
I won't hold us up any longer. I'm going to go with Auburn for one reason, and if this game is close in the final 4 minutes, you mentioned like the figuring it out without him for the first time. Like, look, he doesn't sit down much to take a rest, but when he does, right, their offense doesn't fall off a cliff. We've seen that this year. Like when he gets to the bench, their offense doesn't fall off a cliff. And so if in the final 4 minutes, I'd take the home environment, although I've argued on the show many times that I don't think the home environment's worth 8 to 10 points. I'll just say that right now. The Arkansas broadcast last night, I almost lost my ever-loving mind. I didn't text you guys. I just tweeted it because it was
I've seen your tweet.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Bud Walton's worth 8 to 10 points. I'm like, the team's not worth 8 to 10 points, guys. Good Lord. And so anyway,
I think we all agree that the home environment is worth a certain amount, but not like 10
sure as heck not 8 to 10. So my point is, if it's less than that at home, final 4 minute timeout, Auburn wins the game. So I'm going to go.
And the funny thing, to your point about Broom's not usually off the floor and their offense is fine. In all fairness, that's because normally when he's off the floor, they're up like 25. They're beating the hell out of the team. So like offense. Yeah, sure. But no, I think this is a really good matchup. And let's go to another one. Talking about more injuries that we talked about with Coach Michael. Tuesday night, you've got number 10 A&M at number 7 Kentucky in Rupp Arena. A&M coming off of a hard-fought, close loss against Alabama at home. Kentucky going to Mississippi State and getting a massive victory. They're back in the friendly confines of Rupp Arena where shooting percentages go up. The crowd behind them, 20,000. This is a different team, and especially another injury, Wade Taylor. A&M needs Wade Taylor. We know Zerk Phelps has been playing great, the physicality, but again, Rupp Arena, Kentucky obviously shoots and plays much better. They've not lost there this year. We saw what they did against Florida. We saw how they played against Louisville. So does A&M, we don't know the status of Wade Taylor, so this could change. But let's assume he does not play again. Does A&M have enough to go to Rupp and get a victory on Tuesday night?
Yeah, this is a difficult game for me to predict, obviously, because of the status of Wade Taylor. If he does play, of course, I'm saying if, I'm going to punch back and take A&M. If he does play, this is assuming he plays. If he doesn't, I'm taking Kentucky. If he does, I'm taking A&M. I just think he'll have enough of an offensive spark to add to the toughness factor that I think A&M has that I don't think Kentucky does in this game. I just think A&M can bully him down low. This not a confident pick, clearly, if you can tell by the tone of my voice. But if Wade Taylor plays, we obviously don't know if he'll be 100%. If he plays, we would assume he wouldn't be. But if you can get enough out of Wade Taylor, just even enough to like take Lamont Butler's defense like not completely out of the game, but like just give him a guy to guard rather than being able to be on Zerk Phelps and take away your number one option and not have a number two. I just think it'll be enough to get A&M a greasy win very unconfidently.
Trevor, I like that point that he mentioned about Lamont Butler and Zerk Phelps, because if Wade Taylor does not play, Lamont's all over Zerk, and we know how great defensively he is. If Zerk Phelps can't get going, they don't have enough scoring guards on that. Not Jace Carter can score. They have some dudes. It's going to be a front court matchup and them trying to get to the free throw line. But when they look at the free throw line for A&M in conference play so far, they're shooting 67.6%, 13th best in the conference. They're shooting 25% from the three-point line, 13th best in the conference. So without Wade Taylor, I don't know where their points are going to come from. Now, I know Kentucky's defense likes to give up a lot of points, probably unnecessarily. And then I think the way A&M wins this game is crash offensive glass, get to the foul line, and make their free throws this time. But I think Kentucky's going to shoot well because it's back at home. Kobe Bryant's three-point percentage at Rupp Arena this year is like 60% or some insane number. I think you'll see him get off. I think Kentucky takes care of business at home. But if Wade Taylor plays, I could absolutely see A&M going into Rupp and getting a win.
I'm not sure I understand where the offense is coming from. They played Alabama yesterday, and they scored 88 points without him.
And they shot 48 free throws too.
Alabama's defense is also a lot better than Kentucky's, so I think that obviously is a huge thing to consider. Granted, this game was at A&M, but if we're just talking about what defense they're going to have to go up against, I don't think the offense is the problem. For me, I think Kentucky's front court and the way they'll be able to neutralize the offensive rebounding power of A&M. Because that's their superpower. Is they're not even like a super huge team, and the offensive rebound the ball really well. I'm the same guy, by the way, talking about the Phillip. I shouldn't be adding anything because Michael said it perfectly. If he plays, they win. If he doesn't, then they probably don't. It really is that simple, because I think they can go anywhere and play right now. I'm the same guy that texted y'all a month ago and said it was right as we were putting up the deadlines of the top 25 that week, and I said, is there any reason why A&M shouldn't be ranked above Kansas right now? And I was totally serious, and I have them ranked against Kansas for the last basically calendar month. And so if they win this game, obviously right now, it's a fair question. Look at their resumes at the time. It was right as conference play was getting going. A&M was a better team than Kansas across the board. And it's a crazy thing to think about, obviously, the conference. Okay, exactly. But this is not a drug Kansas here, because they won by 50 yesterday, for crying out loud. But at the end of the day, this is a team that is positioned to, I think this is the best year they've ever been positioned to win without Wade Taylor. And if yesterday's Alabama game doesn't tell us anything, I know it got greasy towards the end there. And obviously I know that, road environment versus home environment, how much is it really worth? But I think if they've coming off of this Alabama game, if they had a bad offensive performance, let me just say this: if they had a bad offensive performance against Alabama, then there's no chance they win a Rupp. It's zero chance. But they're coming off a night where they kind of, okay, we've got this figured out. And if Wade plays, obviously some of those guys, then the load kind of comes off. But it's shooter friendly for both teams. It really is. It is a shooter friendly place. I've always agreed with that, and so I'm going to reluctantly pick them, but it's because I really like them, and it's because I think that they'll be able to attack the defense. And obviously there's not many coaches better that are able to prepare for a team like this, especially on the road. He's been around a long time, Williams.
I will say this on the A&M offensive end from last night: 48 free throws. They shot 44% from inside the line, or from 2-point range, 22% from the 3-point line. if the referees, and we went over this at the beginning of the show, if the referees do not continually blow that whistle, I don't know if they get to 88. And I'll put it that way. I think that number is a tad bit inflated because 88 free throws shot in that game. 88. If the referees allowed that play like almost like an NCAA tournament game where it's more wide open, I don't think they get to 88. So that's where my point about kind of the offense comes from. And it's kind of proof of the pudding to their shooting percentages so far in conference play.
I mean, you and a bunch of other SC people on Twitter last night were talking about the refs and how it's gotten ridiculous this year. Well, then what's going to be any different on Tuesday? If they're going to continue to be like this all season, then they're probably going to get to the free throw line 25 plus times. They are. And then to your point, though, Kentucky is they're top 100 in the country in free throws a lot of game. That is a huge advantage. Here's the crazy part, though. It's almost 30 a game. So it's a lot. So then A&M, and then to your point, it kind of what washes out at that point. It kind of does. It kind of neutralizes the fact that A&M has, again, the superpower. What is the ultimate superpower to be able to not get to the free throw line? It's generating second chance points. And they're the best team in the freaking country that does that with like no physical big man. It's kind of insane to even say out loud. And imagine that plus having a Taylor to kick the ball to, who I get it, hasn't had the best stretch here before he got injured. I know he's had, one of those 9 for 26 nights, whatever, like he's famous for having. But he's also one of the best players in the conference. And if he's there and they're crashing the glass like that, like, again, I really high on this team. They're showing us some of the same stuff they did last year in that Houston game where like it just took a will from God to come back and even make that game competitive last year. But man, they need Taylor healthy, and they need to get consistent and win some games in a row. The problem is this conference is a bloodbath and there's murderer's row, and they can't do that. No, like
I was trying to look up, see if we had any update on Wade Taylor, because I'm with you. I think if Wade Taylor plays, A&M absolutely can win this game. There's just something at Rupp. I think Kentucky's obviously shooting percentages go up. I think Kentucky wins regardless, but I think this is going to be another one of those games they're going to be really challenged, especially in the offensive glass. To your point, they have to clean up their defensive glass, or else A&M is going to probably beat them. I just put it that way. If they get dominated on the glass, they're probably going to lose. Let's go to another SEC game here on Tuesday night. We've got number 21 Ole Miss at number 5 Alabama. Ole Miss, just every time, DeRosa, I know in this podcast this year, you and I have kind of been like, I mean, how good is Ole Miss? How good are they? But yet they keep winning. I don't know how they do it, because they don't have like sexy offense. They're not the most incredible defense. They're top 25, but they're kind of Michigan State of the SEC, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Where
they don't do anything in particular incredible, but they just win. And then you're going to a place in Alabama where we know how good they are. We know how good that offense is. Mark Sears is starting to play with the All-American we thought he was. They've got so much depth and balance. They played at a high tempo. So I think Ole Miss's path to victory is obviously generating enough points via getting to the foul line, making the threes that you do take, and then controlling the tempo. You slow Alabama down, limit possessions, you got a chance. But I think Alabama is in for a very comfortable victory. What do you guys think?
They're simple to me, and that's why I've kept them in my top 25 forever. They don't turn the ball over. They're 5th in the country in terms of percentage on offense, and they're experienced. There's so many teams. We just mentioned a Hubbard who's a sophomore. We just mentioned a couple of teams with a couple of freshmen or a couple of guys that have transferred with lesser opportunity in other places. These are all guys that played at the mid-major level or were incredible at it. And then their lowest contributor per se, or the low, kind of lowest contributors that aren't necessarily ones on a night-to-night basis that they may not rely on are the 2 freshmen, our Bull and Eduardo. We're going to go with. I'm not even going to try his last
name. I think's his name. Clafky.
Yeah, sure. But Barnes, Murray, Brakefield, Davis, Padula, who I love.
Malik Diaz has been really good.
Malik Diaz has been incredible. And then Brown Jones, I saw a bunch of times at Greensboro last year. They're all seniors or juniors. Like, they're all super, super experienced. So they're built for this schedule. And they really, honestly, not saying there's any easy games in this conference, but they beat Georgia. It's a great win. This was before Georgia really got clicking here. That was on January 4th. They beat Arkansas on the road, and they beat LSU. Their hard schedule starts now. So this is a game that if they can beat Alabama, they're going to string a few together. And we're talking at that point, top 15, top 12 buzz. Most people had them in the 18 to 25 range coming into the year. I think it was pretty fair. It was okay. Now we just got to kind of see how the pieces come together. And they're a really good example of how this conference, throughout the non-conference schedule, we started to realize that this SEC schedule was going to start to really take shape for some of these teams. And I think we kind of expected them to eventually fall off. But to me, it's the experience and the turnovers. If those two things alone happen, you're going to stay in any game. Like you just are. Even if it gets offensive heavy here, Padula, people are going to learn about Padula if they've never watched him before Virginia Tech last year. They're going to learn because he's an incredible shooter.
And the other aspect of turnovers, not only do they not turn it over, they force a lot of turnovers. They're 13th on the defensive end, forcing turnovers. Michael, Malik Dia has been awesome for them. He hit a shot the other night against Arkansas, and I tweeted it from our account that I haven't seen somebody get so little lift and bury a three and it look as smooth since Big Smooth himself, Sam Perkins. Like he got like this far off the ground. I don't even think he jumped. It was like
Sean Marion would like a word. Sean Marion would like a word.
Marion got higher than Malik Dia did.
He got the ball at the same level.
Yeah. Like
Dia, I was gonna say, Sean Marion was it was bad, and he never moved. It was just like this weird push forward. It was.
I think Dia got on his tippy toes. I don't even think he left floor, but like his ability to step out and hit the occasional three. Dre Davis has been good for him. And how about their best player from last year, Matthew Morrell, is not really been a huge factor so far because everybody else is playing well. So I get the point, and I don't think Mississippi's a bad team. It's just they don't do anything particularly like overwhelming, but they're right there. And we know how. Look, Chris Beard's an amazing coach. Despite whatever anybody wants to think about him personally, he is an amazing coach, and he will have them ready to go into Coleman Coliseum on Tuesday night. Michael, do you think Alabama runs away with this? Mississippi holds on? Like, how do you look at this?
Yeah, I think you guys made quite a good point, a few good points on the Ole Miss side. I think the way you guys talked about it, like how many guys they have, you guys gave that case. I'm going to give the other case. Alabama puts belt to ass. This game is not competitive. You mentioned Sean Padula. Sean Padula, very good offensive player. He is a cone defensively. Mark Sears is going to torch him. This is a blowout. This is 15 plus.
Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. How about that? Also on Tuesday night, we have a Big Ten clash I want to talk about. Number 13, Illinois, coming off the loss to USC, goes to Assembly Hall, plays Indiana. Indiana got embarrassed by Iowa. Indiana's problem, and they've been playing well. Like we talked about it on Thursday, about Indiana been playing well. They had won, 5 in a row, 6 in a row before last night. The problem is when they get down like by a significant amount, let's say they're down 12, they don't rally back. Like they let a 12-point lead become a 25-point loss. And that's happened all year so far. Illinois, it'll be interesting to see if Yakachonis is back.
Yeah.
Because we spent earlier in the show about completely different team offensively without him on the floor. In Indiana, Assembly Hall, if anybody's never been there or see it, you talk about Trevor earlier about Texas Tech. You don't know if it's top 10 venue. Assembly Hall is. You can ask Mike Krzyzewski when he had to go play. Like Assembly Hall is loud. And I think that building be rocking. This is kind of a regional conference rivalry. Illinois and Indiana have bad blood with each other over the decades. I think the crowd will be ready. I'm curious to see how Indiana continues to play. They had been winning games because they got forced to go 4 out, 1 in and use Umar Ballo as the lone center, and their offense flowed much better. They didn't make shots yesterday. But I really like Miles Rice. We'll see if Ballo has a bounce back, if he can eat up Tomislav Ivicic and all that. But if Yakachonis don't play, I think Indiana gets a big-time must-needed win at home in front of Assembly Hall. If he plays, I think Illinois wins. But I'm going to go Indiana for this game.
Fellas, bear with me for just a second because this is one of the reasons I was excited to be back on this podcast. That was one of those games, was right in the middle. It was that 4 o'clock window as the NFL playoffs were getting started. I was trying to figure out what was going on, what TV. I don't remember exact I think it was right before or after NC State Carolina. So whatever, right? So I threw it on the TV. And when I tell you that was the fastest I've ever turned off a game in the last month, after the under 12 timeout, this is record time. This Indiana team is awful. I'm so out. It's ridiculous. And I'm not making hyperbole here. That you talking about the lead, right? Iowa took a 15-4 lead heading into the under 16 timeout. And I knew the game was over right then and there, right? Obviously, people are going to, Indiana fans or whoever, are going to point off the court and point at Mike Woodson. Ballo, I'm out. Like, he looks out of shape. He looks out of it mentally. He looks like he is in no way able. He looks like he's in no way able to help a team or carry a team to win and to make an NCAA tournament. They're not an NCAA tournament team. They might, by the fair graces of winning some Big Ten conference games, might get in. I don't know. At that point, I'm again defer to what I've said all last year. and I'll just continue to start saying it as we're in January now. Not a bracketologist. Don't ask me. But this is a ridiculous. This team looks lethargic offensively. There was a point where 3 possessions in a row, they swung the ball around. It ended up back to Ballo in the middle, and he would either turn the ball over or put it up or expect a foul, and I would steal it, and they get on the fast break. And shout out to Drew Thelwell for doing all of this and helping them move the ball up the floor. It was really, really impactful to how they kind of got out to open that game. But this team is awful. I'm so done. I don't care about the environment. The crowd's going to show up, like you said. The team's not. And Illinois, doesn't matter who's there. I'll just say the same BTA example that Michael just gave with Alabama. Illinois is mad they just lost to USC because they very well shouldn't have. And they're going to put B to A, and I think they'll figure it out. Indiana sucks. I'm so sick of this stupid team. Anyway.
I don't have a good feel on this game. Do we have any idea how long Malik Renew's out?
That's on you, brother.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know.
I don't think it matters.
If they don't have Jakachonis, I don't have a good feel for this game at all. All right. I'm going to stick with Trev and not believing in Indiana, but I zero confidence.
Who other than Miles Rice is going to help them win this game? Be honest.
It depends if Mackenzie Mbako shows up. If he plays well, like he began the year playing well. If he plays well, he's capable of giving them 22, 24, 25 points. But that's the problem. It's been inconsistent. Yeah, if he steps up and plays this game, they can win this game on his back.
Indiana is so inconsistent, and there are like some games where it just like comes to me. It's like Indiana's going to get whooped here, and there are other games it's like I just don't have a good feel for them. This is one of those I don't have a good feel. But what I will say, we don't get many of these in college basketball. We get them a lot in pro sports, not a lot in college basketball. This is a Luke Goody revenge game.
Yeah. You're right about that. Yeah, I forgot all about it. Yeah, I love it. Look, and Trevor, I completely understand. And I think a lot of Indiana fans feel the same way. Like, I know our guy Johnny is very frustrated. He texted me right away last night.
He should be.
I'm disgusted. Let me see if I can pull up the text real quick. But he's basically, I'm disgusted. This is blah blah blah. So, IU quit in yet another game in this year. Disgusting. That was his text. And I completely get it. But I do think at home, especially if Jakachonis does not play, they can win this game. I think they could win. But looking at their schedule, Ken Pom has them losing like the next 8. So we'll see. We'll see. We got a couple others I want to touch on real quick before we start rounding this out. On Wednesday night, number 11, Kansas at number 3, Iowa State. Talked about this just a little bit ago with Coach. This is one of those games that could easily decide the Big 12 conference race. Kansas, up and down. I don't trust their offense, but they still have really good pieces. And we know Hilton Coliseum they call it Hilton Magic for a reason. And we know how good Iowa State is. So do you think Kansas, with the experience, the talent, can go in and beat the number 3 team in the country on the road and kind of start to show that maybe they're for real of winning the Big 12 again?
Ken Pom has this as a 6-point spread. Iowa State favored by 6. Give me Iowa State -6. I think they're going to put Hunter Dickinson in ball screens all game long, and I think they're just going to torch him. I love this Iowa State team. Curtis Jones, I think, is a 6th Man of the Year candidate. I love Keyshawn Gilbert's game. I love Tamin Lipsey. I love these guards. Josh Jefferson's I think Josh Jefferson can do enough to annoy Dickinson on the other end. I love Iowa State in this spot. If Kansas wins, fair play. I'm more than okay getting burnt in this spot. I think Iowa State puts belt to ass.
I would agree with that, Trevor. Here's the thing, too. We talked and made fun of Cincinnati only scoring 40. Kansas only scored 54. And you look at the game before that in midweek against Arizona State, and we know Arizona State's a pretty good team. They've been in and out of our top 25. They found themselves down like 10 or 11 early in that game before they put a run on. To me, Kansas is only hope. Dickinson obviously has to be good, but they need one of Zeke Mayo or AJ Storr to play well, and you've not got that all year. Zeke Mayo has been much better than AJ Storr has been. Rylan Griffin has been an absolute no-show this year. We thought coming in from Alabama, he would help that offense, 3-point shooting that they didn't have last year. He's been a no-show. But they need Zeke Mayo or AJ Storr, or preferred for both of them, to really play well. I think Iowa State, I'm with the roast. I think Iowa State covers.
Yeah, I'll be short and sweet. You guys understand this, even not being on the podcast for a while, that I'll just make the same point I made earlier, that there are X, Y, and Z teams that I think are better than Kansas right now. Iowa State is obviously in that category. And I hate to be a broken record here with the Momcilovic thing, but like maybe Adams can guard him coming up to the top a little bit right there, but I think he'll feast. I think even the ball screens is a good point, but I think if they can spread it out as well and kind of put Kansas in positions where we're kind of back on their heels a little bit, I think it could get ugly quick. And shout out to my buddy Ryan Hammer, who will be in attendance there for the first time at Hilton. So I'll be excited to share how his experience went. But yeah, I think Iowa's down. I don't know about belt to behind here, but Iowa State, I like the -6 call. I do. I know. Sure, I'll just go with it. I think Iowa State wins semi-comfortably.
I will say this, Bill Self, if this game's close in the second half, Bill Self, I would not be surprised if he doesn't go to that triangle and 2 he's done over the course of his time at Kansas and try to make the third and fourth options of Iowa State beating Momcilovic, Curtis Jones, see if he can't take out Gilbert and Lipsey, and then maybe we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think Iowa State at home court, they just don't lose. Like, it's not often they lose, and I think that they'll separate themselves in the Big 12. Let's go one more SEC game that's on Wednesday night. I think it's very interesting. Georgia coming off back-to-back home victories against top 25 teams, a team that I really liked, going to Knoxville to play Tennessee in Thompson-Bowling Arena. Gentlemen, to me, this says, you'll think I'm crazy, I think this has upset written all over it. I love the way Georgia's playing. Tennessee, if you guys seen the comments about Rick Barnes, what he said about Chaz Lanier last night when they probably should have lost to Texas on the road, he basically said he's paid like a pro, and if he doesn't want to do the things we're asking of him, he can sit his ass on the bench. We'll see if Lanier responds back at home on Wednesday night against Georgia. Georgia's got confidence. They're playing well. Asa Newell's been one of the quiet best freshmen in the country. Our guy Silas Demery continues to run the show, doesn't turn the ball over a lot, makes every big play they need. Blue Kane's a good shooter. And Dakota LaFew has been really good for them this year. They get to the foul line. I'll say it. I think Georgia goes in and gets a big win. I don't think Tennessee – I just don't know if Tennessee's offense, yet again, we talked about it for another year. If Lanier doesn't score, they struggle to score. I think Georgia gets a big win.
Georgia's defense is 16th in the country. The problem is –
really tough.
The problem is Ziegler's the best defender that Silas has seen. I love him to death. Sorry, Silas, but it's the best defender he's seen all year. And I think they're going to be able to suffocate them. I think this is where kind of Georgia meets their match a little bit and shows Tennessee's been my number one team up until they've lost. I think I'll officially move Auburn forward. Problem is the Brom thing there. Tennessee, it's going to be tough to kind of balance all of that stuff and the metrics there. But look, Tennessee, I think whether you think whatever you think about Rick Barnes in the tournament and kind of some of the recent successes or lack thereof, that kind of stuff he says about a guy like Lanier, those kind of guys respond. They just do. And I think I saw Lanier last year up close once. He's an incredible player, and I think it's something that they'll be able to figure out. I wonder – Georgia's offense has been good. It's just not been the thing that's been winning those games. And if I'm going to take a defensive battle, we're really going to pick against Rick Barnes. Like, are we? Are we going to really pick against Ziegler? Probably not. And so I'm going to go with Tennessee. I think Georgia will keep it close, but I think Tennessee eventually – we mentioned the environments and sounding like broken records all day here with we're talking about the same conference for 40 minutes, so I guess that happens. But the Bowling Arena is incredible, and I just think they'll be fine. So
it's what we did with the Big 12 the last couple of years. Yeah. It's just when the conference is that good, that's just all the good matchups come from that, it seems like. DeRosa, do you think Georgia has a chance?
Demery had a crazy dunk yesterday. I put it in the text chat where I don't know if you guys saw it. It was nuts. Yeah, nuts. That was awesome. But you mentioned you don't trust Tennessee's offense, Josh. I don't know how Georgia scores more than 55 points.
That's what I was saying. Yeah.
Free throw line. That's how they've been doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. Every single thing Trevor said, I agree with.
They shot this, and I know it's at home, so maybe a little different whistle, but they shot a combined like 77 free throws in the wins against Kentucky and Oklahoma. Get to go ahead.
Go ahead. I would say, but don't move on to Bengay just yet. I want to mention a couple more games that are
cool. Yeah, so I think Georgia can put Tennessee in pressure, getting to the rim. Asa Newell stretching the floor. We'll see if what's the big kid that came from Charlotte? I just forgot his name. From Tennessee.
Yeah, Milicic. Igor Milicic.
Milicic, thank you. That's a weird matchup because Asa's got some athleticism on him, some size, and can step out. I don't know. I like this Georgia team. We'll see. Tennessee's the favorite for a reason. Something's telling me Georgia wins. Could very well be wrong here. Trevor, go ahead. You got a couple games. Go ahead and list them off.
We don't necessarily have to pick them. I just wanted to make sure they got mentioned because I know when you sort by top 25 on ESPN right now, you only get SEC games. But I'm just going to make sure that people realize that there are other contests going on because it really is. It just shows you how incredible this conference is this year. It's in no way a knock or being funny. Penn State goes to Michigan State 12-2 against 14-2. That's 7:30 at Breslin on Big Ten Networks. That one probably gets buried a little bit. The one I really wanted to bring up that I think is really interesting: West Virginia at Houston. West Virginia is playing some of their best basketball right now. I'm not sure they're the type of team that can beat Houston on the road, but anything's possible when you have a Tucker DeVries, and Houston does not have a Tucker DeVries.
I mean, and after that too, they go to Houston, and then I believe Iowa State comes to West Virginia.
Yeah, correct, they do.
Yeah.
Yep.
And West Virginia just lost was it yesterday or the other day? And to Coach's point, he texted us on our group chat last night that Houston is rolling right now.
Yeah.
They have figured
it
out.
And at home specifically because he was in the
my guy, he tweeted this out. This is the best defense per Ken Palm's adjusted defensive efficiency. This is the best defense Kelvin Sampson has had ever.
That's scary too, because look how good they've been over the years.
Yeah. It is.
Yeah.
Who it got cut off there? Who give the guy a shout out again?
Christian Ojackson, ODJ.
Oh, yeah. Great follow. Wake Forest guy, by the way. Shout out the SEC.
You know the funny thing about Houston, Trevor, is how I've kind of pushed back on them the last couple of years, knowing how good they were, and you were always a big fan. And this year, they lose their stars, and now I'm a bigger fan of them this year than I have the last couple. It's crazy how that works.
The numbers speak for themselves. They're really good, like Michael just said. And then a couple more. Texas, Oklahoma is a 10 o'clock tip Eastern, by the way.
Hey, somebody's getting their first SEC win. How about that?
Yeah. So, and I only bring that up because I think it's just funny from an East Coast guy here that I'm going to get a Central Time Oklahoma game where those games used to be 8 o'clock prime time. The one against that video against Kansas has been circulating. I think that was the Buddy Hield year or something like that.
Yeah, they went like 3 overtimes. Yeah.
Utah State UNLV is at 11. This is on Wednesday, by the way. And then there was one more I was going to bring up, and I don't remember what it is, but that is it from me.
Yeah, A&M, listen to me. Texas, Oklahoma, both 0-3. Finding out real quick how good this conference is. But somebody's got to get their first conference win in that game coming up. It should be a lot of...
Oh, it was Georgetown St. John's. There we go. Michael, you're welcome. That's on
I'm going to be locked into that one.
Peacock, by the way. So you got to have a separate television.
I've got a Peacock subscription, so...
I wonder if
problem is fitting it on the screen, so...
Yeah,
I would say Peacock does a good job with Big East games. I do want to give them credit. They do better than CBS and Fox both.
I did the rant last year. Josh, you may not remember this. I did a rant last year on here about Peacock, and I was like, people complained about it.
I think so. Yeah.
They do a great job, period. I'm just sick of hearing people complain about it. I understand sticking a whole playoff game on there is different, right? But whatever.
They do a good job.
They do.
What's the announcer? Oh my God, his dad does.
Oh, Noah Eagle. Noah Eagle.
Yes. I wonder if Noah Eagle will be on the call because he does a lot of those Peacock games. So.
He does. Have you heard the story about him and his dad about how they used to argue? And can you imagine just closing your eyes and listening to the two Eagles argue?
Yeah, I seen that. Was it
so
for
funny.
Christmas? He did the Christmas
Day. So funny. So funny.
He said, "Clean your room," and I said, "Denied," or whatever it was. Yeah.
It was so stupid. It's exactly what you thought it was. And by the way, the Peacock thing, I'll lay it to rest forever. I promise I will. Probably not, but it'll probably be a tweet or two. But people are talking about the Peacock broadcasts pre-Noah recently and all that because he's really good. He did the Olympics. But people were comparing it. It just felt like the negativity around it was comparable. I was watching the Texans game last night with the Nickelodeon broadcast, and it was actually kind of watchable for a minute there. It was really funny. And that was how people were talking about Peacock. Was it's this Nickelodeon, dumb, Disney-fied. And I'm like, it's not. It's a good place to put it.
Do you know
sometimes where Fox will use pre-recorded halftime shows for the Big East games? I hate those with a passion. It's talk about the one we watched. And CBS, I mean,
you can't get
CBS SN is a disaster to try to get to work. It works half the time. It will just cut away from 3 possessions, and it's what the.
And the I'm glad you brought that up real quick. The Fox pre-recorded because it's kind of repeatable and it's not topical with what they talk about. They're still doing the halftime show for the game earlier in the afternoon, and here we are at the nightcapper, and they don't.
Or they'll just include a generic segment, and they did this beginning of the year. I knew I remember the ending almost vividly. If someone cued me in, I could keep going. But it'd be they'd be talking about the Big East freshman of the year for 6 months or like 6 weeks at the beginning of the season, they wouldn't mention Thomas Sorber. And Sorber was awesome to begin the season, but that segment never mentioned him. So it was just McNeely. And it's just like, McNeely's great. Don't get me wrong. But this guy on Georgetown's averaging 20 and 8 right now.
Mm-hmm. It happens a lot of places too. I don't have I probably deleted it by now, but a couple months ago, I think it was something with the NBA or something like this, where I was watching like right before a really big game, like that was on national TV. I don't remember. It may have not been. I don't know. I'll have to find it and I'll send it to you guys. But I was watching, and in the faintest white text in the top this corner right here, it said previously recorded.
And it was like TV does that a lot. Yes, they do.
I was like, what are we doing?
Mm-hmm. And I think the Peacock thing and all these apps, a lot of people who either don't want to get extra apps or just like old people who miss like linear television.
Indiana's had like 3 games on Peacock. Can you imagine the entire middle state of Indiana like just being like, where the hell's the Hoosiers? Like I just
brother, I'm telling you right now, I hear it all the time. People are like, how do you what? Yeah, like it's crazy. So I think a lot of the complaints.
That's how we, by the way, that is how we North Carolinians feel about CW.
Oh yeah. I've got CW. I mean, I have it with my TV package anyways.
Half the ACC's on it this year.
Yeah, I know. I watch it
should be,
particularly for wrestling, by the way. But it's good to have for like ACC football, basketball if you're trying to watch a game. Let's move on. We could probably do like these television conversations.
Oh yeah,
the rest of the year.
Shout out to Seth Davis, by the way, on CW. He's been really, really good.
Yeah. You know what?
Into that Boston College Syracuse game. I know that's not something he's done in a while. I know he's done the studio thing, but he's been the color guy for them, and he's been really, really good. So
yeah, that's a good shout out because normally he's like kind of the in studio guy, as you said. So him calling games. A lot of fun there. Let's round this thing out today. Bank on it, and I'll just double down. Like mine's, I had some fun the last couple of weeks. Like, oh, not so fast, whatever. In my heart, something's telling me Georgia goes to Tennessee and shakes up the SEC. I like this Georgia team, and I even think that they do it how they've been doing it. They're going to shoot 35 or more free throws. They're going to get to the line, put Tennessee in foul trouble, and I think they're going to wear them down. And probably one of those games we look at and be like, that was the ugliest game I watched for an hour and 40 minutes because all the fouls, free throws. I think Georgia makes the plays necessary and gets a massive victory. They're going to be top 25 in the poll this week, I think.
I'll go outside the box a little bit. To give Michael some time to think. Penn State, I think they go on the road and beat Michigan State. I think they do it. I don't know if that's necessarily a huge bank on it, but they're definitely not favored, and it's play in the country. I'll say that. And, Mike Rhodes is going to give Penn State faithful a little bit, it's necessarily not going to lick the wounds of losing Notre Dame in the college football playoff semifinal. Go Buckeyes. But it is going to at least give them something to be excited about moving forward when they're probably ranked if they win that game. So if obviously they'd have to win the rest of the week too, but Penn State goes into Michigan State and wins.
I love it. Shout out Coach Rhodes. He's been great to us. And didn't DeRosa, before Trevor came on, didn't Coach drop a nugget that Ace Baldwin's like banged up or something?
Yeah, Ace Baldwin was banged up in that game. He said Puff Johnson got hurt too. So they're like pretty banged up in that game. Yeah.
Even better reason. Bank on it.
Yeah. Hey, we love Coach Rhodes around here. So we'd love to shout there.
You want the greasiest bank on it in this show's history? I'm about to give it.
I tried. I really did. I tried. I wanted to kind of bring back with the bang, but didn't work.
I'm going so greasy.
Give me 1940s fucking greaser hair bank on. I love it.
Oh yeah. We're going greasy here. This team's on a 2-game winning streak. They started the season really slow, really slow. 0-13. They've won their last 2. They're playing their best ball. They got a guy healthy, a guy by the name of Deshaun Ruffin. He got healthy.
Oh my God.
He's picking
from Ole Miss, right? From Ole Miss, yeah.
Ole Miss transfer. We're going with Jackson State. Jackson State's going to go 3-0. They're going to beat Alabama A&M. I like this Jackson State team quite a bit. They've been playing a lot better since Ruffin got healthy. I believe this is going to be a 6th game coming up. He's averaging 13. He didn't play very well Saturday. I think he had 5 assists, 0 turnovers, so I think that made a difference. They won their 2nd game in conference play. They're 2-0 in conference play. They're going to go 3-0. They're going to take down Alabama A&M. Bank on it.
Mo Williams team. I like it. Hey, look, Deshaun Ruffin was a good player at Ole Miss, by the way. So, putting down there.
And he's still getting back in, the flow. You can tell, he's still getting back to it, but he can play.
I thought we were getting a Thomas Sorber drops a triple-double and sends Rick Danner into retirement or something. I don't know. I really don't know where that was going at first.
Hey, put some respect on Jackson State in the SWAC right now. They're 4th in adjusted efficiency on offense, 2nd in turnover percentage, 2nd in free throw rate, 2nd in 3-point. They're shooting 44.2% in 3-point land in conference play. So I like.
Do you know why they're like that?
They hit like 16 yesterday. It was
because
they're like 7. And I don't even think I wrote about him in the SWAC thing. He hit like 7 threes yesterday. It's like, oh, okay.
You know why they're like that though? This is actually a thing. Doesn't make sense for the style of what we do for content, but like this is a good example to every team of their level that's poor right now to go play on a road for 2 months. Just do it. Yeah. Just do it. And guess what? I was talking to an assistant at a buy game a few weeks ago. This is not. I'll keep it clear. I promise. Yeah. And I said they lost by 15 or whatever, and and they're pretty excited about themselves going into conference play. This was right before conference play started, and I go, dog. At the end of the day, guess what? You're going to wake up tomorrow and the check's in the bank. Mm-hmm. And guess what? That doesn't affect the players on the floor, especially with the way I'm sure NIL works at a SWAC school, probably non-existent at this point. But the point being is that schools like that should go do that more. They should learn for themselves and realize like they're going to be the toughest team on the road. They're going to be the toughest team in that conference because they've played these absolute. I mean, they got destroyed by Houston.
Yep.
So
that's a really great point. They played their first home game of the year yesterday.
When students return from winter break.
I know. And you talked about they played Houston, High Point. We know High Point's good. Xavier, Vandy, Western Kentucky, Lipscomb, St. Louis, Arkansas State, Iowa State, UTEP, Akron, and Cal Baptist. All on the road.
All teams that are some of the best in their conference, by the way.
I know. Brutal. That is a really good point, Trevor. Like a lot of people aren't thinking about. Like, of course, they didn't win a single game, but look at the teams they played. They did get the money for the athletic funds. They probably, I don't know what Kentucky and them gave them, probably $500,000, $1 million. I don't know. But
I'll share this. The check, roughly, let's say on the low end, I'll try to keep this comfortable here. Roughly that the cheapest check they got was $75,000 for each of those games. So you do the math on that schedule.
Yeah, they probably made $3-4 million during that road stretch.
They're rebuilding their facilities with this money. They just are.
Of course. That's a really good point. That's one of my favorite points of the day right there because not a lot of people look at that. I really like that. Let's round out with
fellas.
Let's round out with shout outs. I've got 4. I'll make them real quick.
I've got
Ryan Smith, 25 points. Peyton came on and talked about it. He has been really good in ACC play since the turn of the year. He's been really good, and it's made a difference in their team. They shoot a high volume of threes. Percentage is not great, but when you have a Ryan Smith that can really shoot it, hit 7 threes, changes anybody's team offensively. He's been good. Shout out Ryan Smith. Utah State, Boise State, just as a whole, that game was incredible. I know we were all watching Kentucky and Mississippi State or Alabama and A&M and other games and caught, if you're like me, caught the final 4 or 5 minutes of that game. But incredible game. Incredible finish, incredible game. Mountain West was really fun again this year. Shout out Michigan State. Beat the brakes off of Northwestern today. They have been rolling. We talked about it, DeRosa at the top with Coach. They're not great at really a lot, but they do everything well, and they just keep winning. They have now won 8 in a row, and they look to be primed to challenge for a Big Ten title. Shout out to Michigan State, Tom Izzo. My last one, Jackson Robinson. We've been waiting on a performance like that. He showed it in the second half against Gonzaga. He balled out last night, 7 threes himself on the road in a tough environment, 27 points, hit a big shot, the 2-point shot he hit as well to give Kentucky a 3-point lead when Mississippi State had a chance there late. Look for that. He won't score 27 every game, but if he can start getting his offense rolling, it helps his team out even more. So those are my shout outs. Huge performances all around.
I've got 3, actually. I was wrong. You mentioned High Point just then that they played. High Point won the largest point win margin in Big South Division I history. They beat Presbyterian, I believe it was Gardner Webb, 96-55 at home yesterday. They lost a tough game on the road earlier in the year. I was on here. You guys probably remember it. I was saying that they probably, if they make it through non-con, they're undefeated. Yep. That's probably still true, but they make the tournament. There's going to be no team in America, 0 of them, that is going to be like, yes, glad we drew High Point. And Coach Huss, I talked to him earlier this year, and you could tell that even like it's crazy to hear a coach that knows he has a 12-man deep roster and good 12-man deep roster. By the way, these are guys that are D1, high-level players that have played at the Power 4 level and come down.
Bobby Pettiford at Kansas started.
You can tell the game I went to didn't even play. He wasn't playing then. Like they weren't even playing him. They were still figuring out the rotation. I think he had a little ankle tweak as well. Don't quote me on that. But the point being is you could tell when a guy who's that intelligent, if you guys don't know much about Coach Huss, he's just super, super intelligent and just really, really, you can tell really, really methodical about everything. And for him to openly admit that they're not like themselves and figuring things out when they're absolutely killing teams in non-conference play, they beat UAB in like a grinded out game, which is opposite of their style, the one I was at. And you could tell that they were figuring things out. They put belt to behind on Gardner-Webb, 96-55. Yeah. It's their largest point margin in program history. Second one, shout out my guy, Anthony Del Orso. He finally had the come out game here. He's been kind of holding it in, or maybe Tony Lloyd's been holding him in. I don't know. 15 points, 3 assists, 3 rebounds. They beat UCF. Deli, had a great game. Shout out to Deli. Love that guy. And then my last one, I wouldn't be off this podcast for a month and not come back and give you a CAA shout out. So I'm going to. I'll try to go out of what we talked about earlier forever. The William and Mary Tribe are 4-0, 3-0 in conference play, 4-0 in conference play. And they have a chance to do something that Tribe fans are very, very excited about. They're all up in my mentions. They're very, very excited about this. Brian Earl has changed the trajectory of this program already in 1 year. They're 10-7. Obviously, they kind of played a tough non-con schedule. They're part of a very unprestigious club, which is the Never Made the Tournament Club.
I thought that they was going to make the tournament that year, and they lost in the first round of their conference tournament.
They are on their way, 10-7. I'm super excited. They have a chance to be 8-0 in conference play when they come to Bowie Creek in a few weeks, and I can't wait if they are. It'll be a really, really fun game. Maybe they just kill everybody and they're undefeated. They're going to have to play in a couple of weeks here. Wilmington, they'll have to play Charleston. They are really, really, really good. Brian Earl. It's kind of the opposite of everything I said about Louisville, where I'm like, okay, they're 2 3-point reliant, but then they just never miss threes, so it kind of doesn't matter what I say. And William and Mary, like they had to beat A&T, who's really, really talented. I won't spend forever on that, but they had to beat them on a buzzer beater, and the guy that hit it is the guy that came from Cornell. Boothby he's a top 25 shooter in the country. All metrics point to that. And so they're just incredible. They're killing people now. They're really, really hitting their stride, and they do that on CBS Sports Network as well. To kind of go on this run and get some TV games 2 in a row there. Good for William and Mary. It's really, really fun in the Berg right now.
I love that shout out because I was going through conference records Friday, just kind of getting an eye and getting updated. Excuse me. And I seen William and Mary up at the top. So I did some research. And I mean, you talk about a huge disparity between offense, defense, 83rd offensively, 314 defensively. But look at their offensive numbers.
They don't play like that, though. They don't play like that. I'm telling you.
35, basically round up 36% 3-point line. They're 20th in the nation, 2-point percentage. You talk about 3-point attempts, the field goal attempts are 5th, and then 51.6% of their shots come from 3-point line. But they also assist on 60% of their made field goals, which is 28th in the nation. So the offense is humming.
If you watch Cornell, this is literally just Brian Earl's Cornell team, just regurgitated in the CAA. That's all it is.
They beat a tough Elon team. I like that. We'll see. We'll see if William and Mary can get to NCAA tournament. I think that'd be a fun storyline.
That'd be incredible. Shout out to the Berg.
Yeah. I got a handful of shout outs. Josh took, I was going to shout out Michigan State.
Oh my bad, bro. Do it anyways.
Do it anyways. It's even better that you shouted them out as well. Like
Michael needs to grow because he replied to my tweet about State a couple weeks ago and he said, okay, but like, what do you have them ranked here for? Because they just don't wow me. So no, he needs 100%.
Did he just leave?
I think so.
I think his internet cut out or something. Yeah, I'll let him back in.
I accidentally swiped off the screen. That happens. Is what it is.
Yeah, Jeff is right though. I was out on the Michigan State team. My last bank on it was they're going to lose. Washington's going to play them tough. They beat Washington by 50, and then Northwestern's going to beat Northwestern by 20. Or I think it ended 12, but like they were up 20 at half.
Yeah, they were up big. Yeah,
they're good enough to win the Big Ten. They look like really good. I'm gonna have to eat some crow on that team. Absolutely. Also, you shouted out the Utah State Boise State game. I'm glad you did. That game was so much fun. I was on the phone with a friend of mine. During that game, I was going crazy, and that motherfucker thought I had like 7 eyes. Like it was the best game of the year. I loved it.
It was incredible.
Yeah, so you got that one. I'm going to shout out Jacoby Gillespie at Maryland. He was great in the win over UCLA. 27 points. Yeah. 50% from 3, 53% from the field. He has been excellent this season. He's a very good defensive guard too. 1.7 steals per game. He's just annoying. He's a pest to deal with. The reason Maryland is better this year is because they have much better guard play. Jacoby Gillespie is the reason there. The Belmont transfer. He is excellent. Shout out to him. I bet MMA yesterday and I had a good day, so I'm going to shout out the guys that won me money. First of all, Clemson, by the way. Shout out Clemson. They smoked Florida State. That won me a decent amount of money.
They're figuring themselves out.
Shout out Jacoby Smith. If you're like a diehard MMA fan, that guy could be a title contender one day. His name's Jacoby Smith. He made his UFC debut yesterday. That guy's a stud. Shout out to him. And I did that to build up to this last shout out that Josh, I'm going to shout out an ex-Kentucky player. I did all that to build up to this. Ex-Kentucky player.
Devin Askew, right?
Devin fucking Askew. Yeah. Yeah, he knew. He knew.
32 points. 32 points, right? Yeah. You know, the funny thing is I almost shouted him out, but go ahead. Yeah, I saw the stat line. Like, no way.
I thought you were going to completely forget Devin Askew existed, and I was going to jump on you. Well played. Nope. Well played. Yeah, 32 points, 9 of 13 from the field. His Long Beach team beat UC Davis. Shout out Devin Askew.
He's in like his 7th year of college basketball. So I'm serious.
Yeah. You're shouting out a UC team. I left this off because they were the literal last game of the night, or one of Seattle, I think, in Arizona were the last 2 games, time-wise. UC Irvine and UC San Diego played last night, and both were 14-2 going into the game.
Yeah, they were the top of the conference, and was it the Big West or where?
Yeah, Big West. They have a chance. Like, there's some, again, no bracketologist, don't ask me, but there is some really big potential at-large chance potentially here for Irvine. I mean, if they, it's interesting. I'm hearing it. I'm not, again, don't ask me. I've already said that. But 60-52 definitely didn't live up to the offensive firepower potential that it might have had. But yeah, so that was an incredible game. That was the game after Utah State, Boise State. You had about I think a half left of that one, and it was incredible. I stayed up for it. It was awesome.
Yeah, I seen when I went through those conference standings, I seen both those tied at the top of the Big West. So now Irvine is leading the conference.
And Irvine was the better team, by the way. They really were.
Better team, yeah. A lot of fun. This is the fun time of college basketball. We are in the heart of conference play. So many incredible games from what we've talked about with SEC and the Big Ten being the 2 best conferences, top 25, a lot of times anymore, top 10 matchups every single night. Then you go down to the Big West, you get 2 incredible teams, or the Mountain West, and a lot of great college basketball in the heart here when everybody's thinking about NFL playoffs. So continue to watch college basketball. We've got a lot to go, a lot of incredible action and players to come. And it's only going to get better from here. This was a lot of fun. We went 20 minutes over today, our normal run time, but that's because Peyton hopped in, Trevor's back, Coach was in and out. A lot of fun. We will catch you guys on Thursday for episode 209. We'll review a lot of these games that we just previewed and talk about the upcoming weekend's actions. A lot of fun. If you're going to watch NFL today, please cheer for the Packers and the still Redskins to me, but the Commanders. We both need wins today. So make me and DeRosa really happy. But with that said, we hope you guys enjoyed this extended version of the podcast today. And until Thursday on episode 209, we will catch you all down the road. Peace.